Hello and a very warm welcome to our special presentation, Question Hour from the Parliament House Complex, your show where we bring you important questions asked by the members of the Upper House during the current session and the response given by the government in written format. I'm Kriti Mishra and joining me is my colleague Rajat Kane.
Thank you for watching the show.
So Rajat, let's take our viewers through important questions and answers in this edition of Question Hour. And the first question in this edition has been asked by member Sasmit Patra, and this one is to the Ministry of Personnel, Public Grievances and Pensioners. And Mr. Patra has asked the government about the difficulties faced by the pensioners in the country.
Well, in the reply, the ministry answered saying the Department of Pension and Pensioners Welfare has an integrated grievance cell and call centre for central government pensioners, family pensioners for registering their grievances. These grievances include matters relating to non-delayed incorrect sanction of pension, other retirement benefits, family pension, non-delayed incorrect revision of pension, family pension as per recommendations of the Pay Commission, non-payment of fixed medical allowances, dearness relief, submission of life insurance and health-related issues. So that was reply of the ministry on the concerned question.
In fact, member Sasmit Patra joined us on the Question Hour show, and this is what he had to say on government's response to his question. And joining us is Rajya Sabha member Mr. Sasmit Patra. Sir, welcome to Rajya Sabha Television and thank you so much for talking to us. You've asked a very pertinent question about pensioners in the country. Why did you ask that question?
You see, the question was asked from a personal standpoint. My father was a Government of India officer, and after his passing away in 2014, my mother has been getting the family pension. Just about a month and a half back, I was in Delhi. She called me up and said that, son, you know, my family pension has gone down by 50%. And I checked with the local bank and they don't have any information. The local pension office, they don't have any information. I called up his parent department. He was from the Information and Broadcasting. They don't have any information. Can you help me? Of course, we found out the details, but that's a different issue. The bigger question was it actually raised a very pertinent question in my mind that there are lakhs of pensioners who are either drawing direct pension or family pension. And they may not really have sons, daughters, or nephews, or neighbors, or friends who can run around and find answers if they are unable to find answers on their own. So, where do they find these answers? And that is where I asked this question, saying that how many complaints have been received by the government from pensioners regarding certain issues, and how many have been resolved. I found that some of them have been resolved, but a large portion of that still remains unresolved. But apart from that, I think the bigger question is that it is not a matter of only a number and a complaint being registered and a complaint being resolved. The question is the quality of complaint handling. I think that is going to be key. And this question that I have stated, I'm not going to end it now. I'm going to take it forward through a special mention or a 0 hour and ask the government to bring in issues and processes which will really help pensioners to actually get to the logical conclusion. There may be specific answers that they want that they cannot find in their local cities or local towns. Imagine this, lakhs and lakhs of pensioners across India, whether they are the central government employees or state government employees, might be facing these issues. We have these helplines, but many times these helplines don't give them the quality of service that is required. So I think this is a very pertinent question. It relates to people who are in their 60s and 70s and 80s and may not have the necessary mobility to move around and seek answers. And I think we should be more real, we should be more practical, and we should be more humane when dealing with them.
So what are the measures that you're suggesting to the government?
I think there are 2 or 3 measures I personally feel the government should take up. Firstly is that there has to be query handling irrespective of various departments at a centralized place, either in a tehsil or a town. Because you find that for state government employees, they are across every tehsil and every town. And they've been settling there primarily because they've worked in the rural areas or the semi-urban areas or the urban areas. So state governments must take precautions to at least have one center which will have this query handling. And the central government should also have a query handling section in at least the major towns and the cities where they have a presence. Otherwise, what happens, the problem with this kind of a system is every department, let's say somebody is from the Information and Broadcasting Ministry. Now for that, there's a specific pension section that deals with that. It's different from the Department of Commerce. I think that is where there has to be a seamless transfer of information. Helplines have to be activated. The email systems that are there for complaint handling have to respond back. And if there are phone lines that are there, they should be able to handle queries and get back to them with ticker numbers. I think that is not being raised at the moment, because of which there is no accountability. So in order to have accountability, we need to fix targets and reach them.
Those are very imperative points that you're making, Mr. Patra. Thank you so much for talking to us. Thank you.
Well, moving on, next question was asked by the member Amar Shankar Sable from Ministry of Space. He sought to know, will the Minister of Space answer whether any progress has been made in technical discussion to realize a virtual constellation of remote sensing satellites provided by space agencies as part of the BRICS program.
Well, in the reply, the government says that the space agencies of BRICS nations have been negotiating a framework agreement to formalize the cooperation on building a virtual constellation of remote sensing satellites, made up of satellites contributed by the BRICS space agencies. Technical aspects with respect to identifying the satellites and also the ground stations for initial virtual constellation were discussed by the space agencies. The purpose of the proposed virtual constellation is to get access to satellite remote sensing data, which could be used by the individual BRICS nations for various applications, including natural resource management as well as disaster management. Member Amar Shankar Sable also joined us on the Question Hour show, and this is what he had to say. Take a listen. And joining us on the Question Hour show is Rajya Sabha member Mr. Amar Shankar Sable. Sir, welcome to Rajya Sabha Television and thank you so much for joining us. आपने बेहद ही महत्वपूर्ण सवाल पूछा है और बहुत दिलचस्प सवाल पूछा है कि किस तरह से जो ब्रिक्स नेशन है वो अपना स्पेस पावर यूज़ करके किस तरह से रिमोट सेंसिंग में और डेटा कलेक्शन में आगे एक साथ बढ़ रहे हैं. क्या मुद्दा है, कितने संतुष्ट हैं आप सरकार के जवाब से?
प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने जय जवान, जय किसान, जय विज्ञान और जय अनुसंधान ऐसी घोषणा की है. तो इसके तहत इस देश के रिसर्च ओरिएंटेड जितने भी प्रोग्राम हैं वो आगे बढ़े, ये प्रधानमंत्री जी चाहते हैं. और ब्रिक्स नेशंस में इसका इंडिविजुअल हर एक देश को लाभ कैसे मिले, जो नेचुरल रिसोर्सेस मैनेजमेंट है और डिज़ास्टर मैनेजमेंट में ये बहुत अहम भूमिका हो सकती है इसकी. इसलिए मैंने ये मुद्दा उठाया है और गवर्नमेंट ने जो जवाब दिया है वो सही है और गवर्नमेंट उस क्षेत्र में आगे बढ़ रही है.
सर, किस तरह से सहयोग आगे बढ़ सकता है इस क्षेत्र में ब्रिक्स देशों के बीच में?
देखो, जो डाटा कलेक्शन जो होगा और वर्चुअल कंस्टेलेशंस ऑफ रिमोट सेंसिंग सैटेलाइट्स, इसके तहत जो डाटा कलेक्शन जो होगा वो पूरे ब्रिक्स के नेशन को उपयोग में लाया जाएगा. विशेष तौर पर जो रिसोर्स नेचुरल रिसोर्स मैनेजमेंट है और डिज़ास्टर मैनेजमेंट, जो पूरे वर्ल्ड की समस्या बन गई है क्लाइमेट चेंज. एक क्लाइमेट चेंज के कारण डिज़ास्टर मैनेजमेंट करना बहुत ज़रूरी है. और अगर अपने नेचुरल रिसोर्स सोर्स बढ़ाना है, उसका संशोधन करना है, तो इसके लिए भी ये टेक्नोलॉजी बहुत अहम भूमिका निभा सकती है. और ये मद्देनजर रखते हुए गवर्नमेंट ने सब इस स्पेस क्षेत्र में जो निगोशिएशन करना शुरू किया है उसका फल अच्छा मिलेगा. और मोदी जी ने जो घोषणा की है जय विज्ञान और जय अनुसंधान, तो उसमें भी वो आगे बढ़ेंगे.
So those were very important points that you were making. Thank you so much for talking to us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And moving on to the last question of this edition of Question Hour, and this one has been asked by member Rashni Biswal. And Mr. Biswal has asked the government about the number of employees retired under Rule 56J of CCS Pension Rules 1972 since 2015, group-wise as well as cadre-wise.
Well, the Ministry of Personnel, Public Grievance and Pensions replied to the question, stating that as per the information data uploaded by different ministries, departments, cadre controlling authorities on Probity portal, followed by a rectification request made by some ministers, departments and cadre controlling authorities during the period from July 2014 to October 2019. Now, this information is till 25th November 2019. Provisions of FR 56 subsection J have been invoked against a total number of 96 Group A officers and 126 Group B officers at different ministries and departments. Now, further to the reply on the specific query sought by the member on is there any proposal to reduce retirement age of the government employees in near future, the ministry replied saying no, presently there is no proposal in the government to reduce age of the retirement of government employees, that is below 60 years.
So Rajat, these were the important questions and answers in this edition of Question Hour. But on the other side, we'll have Prashn Kal in Hindi with our colleagues Arvind Singh and Preeti Singh. Stay tuned to Rajya Sabha Television.
Thanks for watching this edition of Question Hour. Keep watching Rajya Sabha TV for more.